is transformative. It changes. But if we don't understand our foundations and understand the importance of certain taonga, then we become a dissonant society. We have no root, we have no meaning, we have no place.
Auckland hasn't been really aware of its potential maritime heritage because most of it's disappeared. That's one of the reasons that the Kestrel is so valuable, because she's one of dozens of ferries that used to operate in Auckland's harbour.
To my mind, when you have something like the Kestrel, it's like a sort of the wakahuia, it's the treasure box. It's got 105, 106 years of the history of the settlement of Auckland and all of the stories and the communities that have formed within it.
I worked out that roughly the Kestrel's done 1,200,000 trips across Auckland Harbour in 100 years.
What you're looking at there is an inner skin, which is called a ceiling. These are the frames. So this is all carry. This is the ceiling. These are the ceiling planks. So they're 3-inch thick carry, 12 inches wide, right? And then these are sawn carry frames. So she's really, really simple and really, really strong. This engine is about 17 tonnes, weighs about 17 tonnes. And it uses about 50 litres of diesel an hour, which is about a quarter of what the modern import ferry uses. And so it would carry 1,250 people at 10 knots, only using 50 litres of fuel an hour, and the modern ferry would carry about an eighth of that number of people, and it would use 4 times as much fuel. So things haven't progressed all that much.
These boats are absolutely iconic as far as the Auckland harbour is concerned. They're completely indigenous to Auckland. They exist nowhere else in the world. These are boats that were built in boat yards in Auckland, and they were built for the Auckland harbour, and you know there should be one there. That's the most important thing for Auckland to preserve, really.
For those people who know the Kestrel, they have such excitement about her return. There's been so much enthusiasm from so many different individuals who have connections with her, and there are many different, whether they've lived out of town and come here, or their parents met courting on board, or they took their children on board, or they went on the jazz boat, or they just understood the significance of her.
I grew up on the North Shore, and I remember as a child going on the Kestrel. There'd be a huge number of people in Auckland who would remember travelling on the Kestrel. We can all remember her leaving Devonport and having that wonderful old slow revving diesel engine thumping away in the boat.
Dugga, 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 dugga.
Dongity, 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 dongity.
It was just a magnificent boat to be on, particularly on a cold day, standing there next to the funnel in the boat, or looking down into the engine room and seeing the engineers miles down in the hull there keeping the boat going.
Heather and I had our wedding reception on the Kestrel in 1993. We had a jazz band, and I mean it was just a wonderful occasion, and just a wonderful, you know, just gliding around the harbour.
And that's what those old boats did. They actually glided. They moved through the water in a way that's so different from these modern things, skating around. And it was just an absolutely sublime experience. I found myself unable to go to Tauranga ever again once I knew the Kestrel was there as a floating restaurant. It just seemed to me like the potential death of this noble treasure. Hugh and I have been tracking the Kestrel since she left Auckland, and in fact, secretly, I was in touch with the guy to see if I could buy her.
The restaurant business hadn't worked out well, so they agreed to it coming up here. They wanted to see the boat preserved, so we agreed on a price of $1,000, which was just a notional price for the boat.
Hugh tells me that if he didn't get hold of the Kestrel, that it was probably going to be taken out to sea and burned. Those likely scenarios would have been a disaster, absolute disaster.
The thing that got me about the Kestrel when she left Auckland over 7 years ago was that she steamed to Tauranga under her in full survey and under her own steam, and it was just, I think, amazing. And for a while there, we really hoped that we'd be able to bring her back up. When it became apparent that she needed to be towed, I especially hoped that we could do that.
The Kestrel Preservation Society are a team of very talented individuals. From the very first meeting, I could tell that there's a bunch of people that were really passionate about the boat.
My view is that you should go for the jugular.
I think Bob's certainly willing, Mike Lee's willing, Len Brown's willing, but we do need
that person
the
in the middle,
advocate.
someone between
And
this society.
We get people on it, politicians on it, wheel them around, get some photos into the media, have a coherent plan. Because I think you'll find that we'll actually get the support as long as they can tell that we're not that we are sincere. It's a project worth doing, and we're not self-serving.
Well, I think the return of the Kestrel's been received very well. It's a bit like bringing a sort of an old incontinent aunt to town and parking around at your friend's flat for a few weeks and asking if he can look after her. So I think everyone looked sideways at the boat when it first arrived and were saying to themselves, well, what condition is this thing in, and is it going to sink? What sort of problems are we going to have with this boat?
The Kestrel should stay in Auckland because Auckland is the Kestrel's home. This boat was the Auckland Harbour Bridge for about 54 years. Everyone I've spoken to about, that the boat's worth saving agrees that the boat absolutely should be saved. So I'm very pleased that we're doing the right thing.
This is a glorious restoration project. This is the 21st century. This boat was built in the 20th century, at the beginning of that century. And so it's seen 100 years of taking people across the harbour on the Waitemata. And so Waterfront Auckland is delighted to announce today that we have made a serious support donation to send it on its second life in the 21st century.